There's John Black, super chemist. This is my diethyl ether. See, it's clear as whatever. The thing is I left it in the freezer for probably at least a month, maybe even longer. So I'm thinking I got peroxides in there, and I don't want them in there for any kind of Grignard reaction, which is what I did all this for. I want to get rid of those peroxides, so I got some iron 2 sulfate. And you see that? I'm guessing it's a tetrahydrate. I'm not really sure. I don't have to be exact. So I weighed out 22.4 grams. That's about 1/10 of a mole, I think. I can't really remember. And I'm going to add about 200 milliliters of cold water. You can see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's turning slightly green. Probably can't tell because it's real slight. Anyways, I'm going to start that. Get all that dissolved in there. Now this oxidizes real easily just with air from the, oxygen from the air. It'll go in there and turn it into iron 3 sulfate. So this is a really good reducer. As a matter of fact, the way you make iron 3 sulfate is you get your iron 2 sulfate and you put some hydrogen peroxide in it. The hydrogen peroxide gets reduced and the iron sulfate gets oxidized to iron 3 sulfate. So my plan is to just put this in, and the peroxides that are in there should be reduced, and this should be oxidized. Now remember, this diethyl ether, it hasn't been used. It's just been sitting there too long. So it probably has some peroxides I didn't store in. I should have stored some sodium hydroxide in there, or maybe some sodium metal. But I didn't. So I'm going to pour it in the set funnel. Remember, do not do this around pilot If you have any pilot lights, like on your oven, and you're doing it by an oven or something, turn the pilot lights off, turn the gas off, have ventilation. I've chilled this down. You can see it's a nice green, real light green, no brown. And I'm just going to put it in a little bit at a time. Maybe 25, 50 milliliters. And I'm going to start, and keep in mind, you got to vent a lot. I'm not going to vent it. I'm just going to, I got a hole on here, and a beveled thing here. I'll just put it on there so it has room to escape, a little pathway. And I'll swirl it. You'll see it's still pretty green. It kind of looks brown on camera, but it's not. It's actually totally green. So maybe there isn't as many peroxides as I thought maybe. It's only been a month. It hasn't been like 6 months or anything. Alright, well, I'm going to let it sit like 20 minutes and see what happens. See if it turns brown at all. Oh, it's been about 15 minutes. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it has turned slightly brown, although it's still slightly green. It's like a 50-50 ratio. Drain this out. And I'm going to put some more in. Stir it up. Give that like 15 minutes. Notice that while I let it sit, I always put this on ice bath. I usually use this, which is just basically for Kool-Aid. later, ice tea or whatever. So, you get more of the thing. But anyways, see, I put ice in it, and it's been about 15 minutes, so I'm going to get this out of here. Actually, that's probably good enough. So I'm going to, what am I going to put in there next? Some cold water. Not measuring nothing, I'm just putting a little bit in. Shake it up, bent, off. Put the ice back on. Alright, so now I'm going to drain regular water out. And I'm going to use table salt water. Saturated. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to drain out that bottom layer again, the salt water. And I'm going to drain the diethyl ether into there. There's some magnesium sulfate in there. And a little bit of calcium chloride. And I'm going to stir it up. That's it. We'll let them stir maybe 20 minutes or something. And we'll distill it. I don't know if you can see through all the clutter, but I just left the stir bar and the salt in there, the calcium chloride and the magnesium sulfate. I left it in there. Now I'm just boiling this off. I use a Vigorix column because it's very low boiling point. So you might as well. It doesn't hurt, right? If it's that low. Because the boiling point's only, what, 34.6 or something Celsius. Yeah, you can see I got that ice bath right here. And I got definitely cold. You can even see water condensating on the outside of the cooler here, condenser. I got a little bit of anhydrous, I can't even remember what I put in there. I think copper sulfate. Anyways, I got some kind of anhydrous salt in there. I wrapped it up in paper towel. And I shoved it in there. I make sure it's not a cork because you don't want to, you want it to be a filter, not a plug. You know what I'm saying? You want it to be in there, it's not too tight so that you have a closed system. You want it in there nice and loose, a little bit of, so it can get through there. And I got it leading all the way into the other room. You shouldn't have any flames or anything around this. And basically I'm just going to distill it off until, it's... Now, this is how people explode. You have peroxides in your pot here, and the peroxides will have a higher boiling point than the rest of the stuff. So you boil off the rest of the stuff, the ether, right? But as you do that, you're concentrating the peroxides. And when you get done, now you've got a concentrated pot of peroxides. And the thing about peroxides is usually they explode before they boil, meaning the auto ignition temperature is lower than at a boiling point temperature. So as you're heating it, you're going to hit that before you hit the boiling point. You're going to hit the auto ignition temperature. And boom, that's how things happen bad in the lab. Okay? So I would never boil this to dryness or advise anyone to do it. Even though we cleaned it with the iron 2 sulfate, the reducer, we still don't take it up. We still don't boil it to dryness. So here's my diethyl ether. It's nice and clear, totally clear, obviously. But we're going to add some molecular sieves, about 3 days. And then this time we're not going to wait. I'm going to do the Grignard in 3 days, guaranteed, because I do not want to clean this stuff again. And I'm going to shake this around every once in a while, maybe a couple times a day I'll go in and shake it. And 3 days from now we'll try to make some propanoic acids. Like I said, I'm going to let this sit for 3 days. After that, I'm going to do something that I really don't want to do. And if you're doing a Grignard, you really don't have to do it. I mean, it'll just, you know, you'll have a slighter, smaller yield, you know what I mean? But I'm going to put some sodium metal in it, okay? It's not pure sodium metal, it's sodium aggregate. I'm going to do a separate video on that in 3 days when this dries out. And that's all the video is going to be, is me putting sodium into this diethyl ether. If there's too much water in there, it will ignite the hydrogen, and the hydrogen will ignite the diethyl ether, and you will have, you know, it'll catch on fire, and you'll have a big firebomb going off. A lot of people supposedly die. You know, well, not a lot, but I'm sure a few catch on fire, and they, you know what I mean, it explodes the wrong way, or, you know, there's something there that explodes. It's not good, that's for sure. You don't want this exploding on you and catching you on fire. So the next video will either be this exploding, or it'll be me putting it in there, and that's it. It'll be nice, easy, you know, making little bubbles. Anyways, y'all, have a great day, and always remember, science is great.